Okay, nice to see you, Christina.
Thank you. Nice to see you too.
Great.
I'm in Sweden. We have a lot of snow here.
Oh, so very colder than where I am.
Oh, yes, it is. I would like to be in Dubai. That would be nice.
I think we'll all take a trip to Dubai one of these days.
Yes, yes.
But I don't think have a big house, but you are all welcome here
Oh, that's
anytime.
Oh,
great.
oh, thank you.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello, good evening.
Hmm.
I was just thinking, I like the cold better than the heat. I can't do heat.
Unfortunately, neither can I.
Okay, hello, Maya.
Hi.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Kat and Karan. Hi there, Susan, over on YouTube. So wait about 5 more minutes before we start. So time to get comfortable, get settled in. Hi, Hoalu. Hope you're well. Okay, nice to see you, Maya and Nuno. Yeah. Welcome, Viraj and Meaty and Sasha. and Anna Sophia, and Alex, Jamie, Siraj, yeah, so 5 more minutes and then we will start with our um, Buddha book club. So we'll have a bit of meditation together and then we will continue in our reading, our study, our discussion. Hey, Braden and Robert and Josh. Nice to see you, Josh. Glad that you're here.
Bante, do you hold the meditation class with your Vietnamese students every day?
No. So that class we just added another day now. So Monday at 11 p.m. New York time, Tuesday at 8 a.m. New York time, and Friday at 8 a.m. New York time. So those will all be class with the Vietnam followers, students group.
Do you think I could join the 11 p.m. one?
Yeah, you can join for sure. Just I will probably share the link for it, but you can send me a message about it as well.
Is it any different than this one?
Well, the difference is that it's for Buddhist people in Vietnam. And so we have a translation, you know, we have to have a translator, and there's also a very different context that is happening within because they are Buddhist people and I am a Buddhist monk. So it's not so different, but in some ways it's quite different. But I just have to give more attention to the translator and the process of translating. So I need to make sure that I speak in quite a simple and direct way so that everything is easily understood. Hi, Luke, on YouTube. Hello, Wessel. Nice to see you, Josh. Hope everything's going well. Great. Well enough to be here, so that is a certain degree of wellness. Hi, Jasper. Welcome. All right, so let's get started with our Buddha book club and meditation gathering. So first of all, before we get into our reading, spend a few moments, a few minutes to settle in together. To find a bit of present moment awareness. We start to do that by getting comfortable. We really have to take a moment to be comfortable, to find a comfortable position for the body, comfortable and stable. We don't want to rush that or kind of take a shortcut where we're semi-comfortable, semi-in pain, but we're going to meditate anyway. We really want to find a place of comfort. Once we find that comfortable position, we can close our eyes and take a few deep breaths. Breathing deeply to bring the mind home to the body, so we start to become aware that the body is here right now. Start to connect with the presence of the body sitting here. And hopefully we are sitting in a way where we're not struggling to hold ourselves up, but actually the opposite. Gravity can do its work. The body can find a place of stillness and stability. And we treat the breath as we breathe deeply, as we start to become still. We treat the breath as this kind of treasure, this practice that is meaningful, this experience that is meaningful, not secondary, not something that we have to deal with, but the breath is really giving us life. Allowing our health of body and mind to continue. So enjoying the breath as it flows in and flows out. Noticing, beginning to notice what it's like to not be consuming content, to not be going somewhere, to not be moving away from anything, but to sit here, to breathe and be aware. Start to notice all the different aspects of that are present. Noticing without judgment or preference, so just noticing. Just becoming aware of what it's like to sit here at this moment. What it's like to breathe and be aware. We may find some anxiety, we may find some difficulty, we may get distracted, we may find a bitterness in this practice. Great, no problem. Look into it, be close to it. It's not different from you, it's not separate from you, it's your experience right now. So breathing and beginning to notice what's happening right now inside. What is it like to sit here and be aware, to notice? And focusing on the breath, following the breath is just this anchor point to help us from spitting out the medicine right away. We may notice a bitterness, a difficulty. We practice to be with that. To breathe and be aware of this experience. You can't be aware of what's happening in the present at any other time. So just for a moment, try it out. To sit still, to breathe in deeply, bringing the mind, our attention, our awareness home to the body, beginning to notice what's happening right now. And to continue to stay with that, what's happening right now. If we have the motivation, if we really want to train our mind and we really want to be here to meditate, at any time that it becomes confusing, overwhelming, or difficult, just sit still and breathe deeply and be aware. If you want to practice, if you want to train your mind, there's no need to give up easily. There's no need to be confused by confusion. Just sit. Just breathe and be aware. Gentle, caring, full attention to ourselves at this moment, to our body and mind at this moment. Don't be conflicted because you have a confused or conflicted mind. Be with it, show up to it, be aware of it. We don't always need to be running from something or running towards something. We can just be aware. We can sit and give our full, gentle, caring attention to whatever is going on right now. Not through thinking, not through stories or belief or me, my, mine, but through just breathing and being aware. Right. So we're on chapter 3 of Ajahn Brahm's book, The Art of Disappearing. And this chapter is focusing on mindfulness. So to be aware of what's going on, to be aware of what's happening right now in the present moment. And the last section was talking about training, sharpening, brightening our mindfulness. That it's a skill and an ability that we can develop. And that one of the most difficult things is beginning. Because at the beginning, it's like our mind is in a dark room. And so we couldn't even find the light switch to turn on the light of our mindfulness, of our awareness, to really know what's going on right now. So getting mindfulness started is the difficult part. But if we can have mindfulness, if we can be aware of what's going on right now, it's very possible to stop thinking before it gets out of control, to stop, reduce attachment to thought before it becomes a tornado, a storm, a tsunami of thinking and attachment and belief and ideas. It's one of the nice things that we have here to practice meditation together regularly, is that we are a kind of, it's a good way to say it, we are building levees to prevent the flood of our thinking, our complicated thought. So levees are some mechanism to prevent flooding in the case of a lot of rain or something like that. So when we do this meditation regularly, when we practice mindfulness regularly, we're putting a kind of stopgap between to get lost in a little bit of thought, to encounter a little bit of depression, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of a complicated feelings towards other people, but then just like that, the mindfulness comes back in. The light turns on. We can see what we're doing. And we don't spend so much energy focusing on negative thoughts or being angry at other people or, these kind of complicated ways of thinking that are impractical and unhelpful because we have a mindfulness. So mindfulness and awareness are the light of the mind. We build up mindfulness by developing present moment awareness. Okay, so there is a present moment for sure. And that is putting energy into the moment, putting energy into the present moment, putting energy into being aware of what's happening right now. Okay? All right, the more time you spend in the present moment, the stronger your mindfulness becomes. So in our normal everyday activities, we can be in the present moment rather than lost in thought. We can do one activity at a time. We try to move in this direction. Maybe one activity a day, we can do one activity at a time, and that's all right. That's following the instructions. Okay. And so over time, that will develop and grow. So that is about where we left off. And just it's wonderful to see for yourself that by reducing activity and conversation and increasing meditation, you can sharpen your mindfulness, you can sharpen your awareness of the present moment, hour by hour and day by day. Okay, so that is where we left off last time. So we'll move on now to getting ready to watch the breath. Next section of our reading here. As your mindfulness grows stronger, it's easier to see the bad habits and hindrances that usually lead you by the nose. Now, Buddhism has 5 hindrances in particular that it talks about, and that is sensual desire, okay, desire for sensuality, ill will, so wishing negative feelings that I hope something bad happens to this person, apathy, which is like not caring, laziness, anxiousness, and doubt. And doubt here is to be just like a very skeptical person. You're always skeptical of everything. So these are the 5 hindrances in Buddhism. So as your mindfulness grows stronger, it's easier to see the bad habits and hindrances that usually lead you by the nose. You clearly see the stupid states of mind that you sometimes get into, like getting angry at other people. So when our mindfulness grows stronger, we start to see how stupid we are. Okay? When you're not mindful, these habits keep coming up. But when you are mindful, you can see them as they happen. You can see these states arising and their consequences. You can see what they do to you and to others. When you see these habits and know that they cause pain and suffering, you become motivated to stop them. Not only do you see the problem, but you also see the solution, restraint. Mindfulness makes restraint possible. Without mindfulness, you might want to be restrained, but you just can't do it because you're still in the dark. When mindfulness grows, however, the hindrances and defilements are easy to spot. Okay, and the defilements are states that cloud the mind, states of experience that cloud the mind. Anxiety, fear, anger, jealousy, desire, depression, etc. When we're in those kind of states, right, the mind is cloudy. We're in this kind of, we're almost predisposed to unskillfulness and not seeing clearly when we're in that situation of the hindrances, the defilements. When our mind is defiled, it's very difficult to act skillfully. When mindfulness grows, however, the hindrances and defilements are easier to spot. This is the real beginning of your meditation practice. So mindfulness gives us this ability to recognize the unskillfulness of habits that we have. Okay? And so recognizing the unskillfulness of those habits, why is it unskillful? It's unskillful because it promotes suffering. It promotes harm to ourselves and to other people, right? So we then are able to have this motivation to stop those activities. Okay, and so how do we stop those activities? Well, we practice restraint from doing them and from doing things that perpetuate those states of mind, those habits. And we need mindfulness, or rather mindfulness enables us to practice restraint, to be aware of what's going on right now. And even though we have a desire to do something, we're mindful, we're in the present, so we can restrain ourselves a bit. We can take a step back. Okay, we'll continue with the reading. Ever since I started teaching breath meditation, I have noticed that people tend to begin watching the breath too soon. If you haven't settled down properly and you're not mindful enough, you can only watch the breath through willpower, which is not sustainable for very long. You start watching the breath and you become dull or even fall asleep because the mind isn't ready yet. Only when mindfulness attains a certain degree of clarity is it easy to watch the breath. And only then can you truly start the meditation practice. So I would say that this is partly why morality is so strongly emphasized in Buddhism. Because to practice morality means that you're being mindful of what you're doing. You're being mindful of how your actions affect other people and yourself in the world. So when we follow precepts, when we prioritize living ethically, we start to set these patterns of mindfulness. We start to naturally train our mindfulness outside of, intensive formal meditation. And this enables us really to be able to practice meditation. Having meditated for a long time, I understand my mind well enough to know what it needs. Before anything else, mindfulness must be shined and increased. If it's not the right time, if mindfulness is not sharp enough, I know the mind won't stick with the breath. I have to do more mindfulness practices. I have to wake up and create a bit of joy. I have to get energy and focus silently in the moment. I know that when silence, present moment awareness, and mindfulness are strong enough, it's easy to watch the breath. I simply tell my mind to watch the breath, and it does so with pleasure. According to the Anapanasati Sutta, it's kind of like the foundational sutra, Buddhist teaching on mindfulness meditation, especially awareness of the breath. So according to the Anapanasati Sutta, the first thing a meditator has to do is establish mindfulness as a priority. Okay, so establishing as a priority being in the present moment, rather being in fantasy, being in the past, being in the future, but to establish as a priority for yourself in your life to be in the present moment, to be aware of what's happening right now. So many people might have the idea that they want to meditate, but in fact, they're not willing to make being in the present a priority. So how can they establish mindfulness? So the first thing a meditator has to do is establish mindfulness as a priority. This is my favorite translation for the Pali word paramukha, which literally means in front. Giving something priority means giving it the greatest importance. So before you try to watch the breath, make mindfulness the main thing. Give it priority over everything else. Just be aware, alert, awake. The whole reason we do body sweeping, body awareness, or walking meditation is to strengthen mindfulness. Once mindfulness reaches a certain level, it will be bright and awake enough to do the job of focusing on a single object. Okay, anyone have a question about what we've read so far or something to share?
I do.
Okay.
Let's say we want to put mindfulness as a priority. For me in the morning, like as soon as I wake up, I've completely forgotten the priority. And how how might I start the day with mindfulness as a top priority?
You have to set it. So mindfulness is meditation is an activity that only happens in the present. So there's no past prioritization of mindfulness that's going to help you set mindfulness as a priority. Wake up and make your priority to be in the present moment, to be aware of what's happening right now. There's no other way to go about it. You have to establish it as a priority. Um, yeah, you have to prioritize being aware of what's happening right now. How do you do that? You prioritize it. Maybe someone else has some wisdom about this, some idea about this.
I do. I think
Okay.
having a routine helps me kind of allow my mind to fall in like a familiar pattern, which, allows me to be comfortable, which then allows me to be able to um, produce that state of mindfulness. Because if I wake up and I don't have a set structure in front of me that my brain kind of usually follows, it's kind of all over the place. But if you develop some sort of pattern that your brain can latch onto, it helps create uh, space. It helps create space for your mind. That's it.
Yes, I did. With creating space, I think there's, of course, just creating space like this, but there's also creating space as in your literal environment, I feel. And there's a lot to be said about, it's a lot easier, I think, to be mindful in a room that is designed with that on purpose versus a room that is really messy. There's way too much going on. So it's not like you need to have I don't know, like a statuette of the Buddha lying around. Me personally, that helps. Um, but just creating the space for it physically.
Thank you for that, Josh. Yeah, I agree. That also helps me.
So I have an idea, Bante, for Morgan. I think Kat is right. If you have a routine and you set up prompts throughout your day, so if you're driving a car, whenever I will get in the car, I remind myself to take 3 deep breaths. Or whenever 2 o'clock New York time is coming, I resolve to attend and be at peace. These prompts can help you routinize the centeredness and the mindfulness that you need. It's a little bit like Pavlov's dog, right? If you set a prompt, you're going to have a response. And if you could anchor those prompts throughout your day. One thing I do is when I feel that I need that centeredness is I time my iPhone for every hour or so and I let it ring something very peaceful. And I know when that alarm goes off, it's time for me to be mindful for 30 seconds or a minute if I can. If you build those in throughout your day, whatever things that happen on a regular basis during the day, you will remind yourself to be centered, and those reminders will become more prominent and will allow you to slip into centeredness more easily.
I'd like to add, kind of jumping off of Robert's dog comment. I like to view part of the mind is monkey mind, or as some may call it, ego. I think, yeah, I agree. A lot of it is training that uh, monkey mind, so that it has things to remind it of the greater self or big picture. So like little things throughout your day that can shift your monkey mind perspective. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for your question, Morgan. So anyone else have a question or comment about what we've read so far?
I do. I kind of feel ashamed when, you know, when those feelings get in your skin and you first, like, you act on them and then you're mindful about it. And I always feel like sad that I couldn't be mindful first about it. And yeah, that's one thing I would like to know. How can you be mindful when those moments like hit you? Because it's kind of hard, even if you do the work before.
Okay, well, the hardness here is to be compassionate with, to be gentle with, to be caring with. Um, and as you practice to be gentle and caring with, you know, those mistakes and those problems that come up, now you're really in a position to be more mindful of them because you're not afraid of those sensations. You're not afraid of that experience or the lack of that experience, but you're taking care of it. You know, you're more aware of it. When we feel afraid or we feel, you know, I don't really want that or like that, or I need to get rid of that as soon as possible, then it just perpetuates that cycle of unskillful action. But when we can give our gentle, caring attention to it, especially when we make that mistake, but be compassionate, we're setting ourselves up to be all the more mindful. And then over time, we are able to practice more restraint, more restraint, more restraint. And eventually you get more and more distance from that activity or that experience. So that, yeah, maybe it comes up, but now you're so far removed from it that you cannot practice that or not do that, whatever the habit is or the substance is, whatever it might be. You're disenchanted from that activity, and you're mindful enough to know that it's unskillful, it's not good. And in that way, when we make that mistake, when we, you know, take that wrong turn and get a flat tire, which is going to keep happening, right, for sure, until we're enlightened, um, we learn from it. If we're really mindful and we're really take it as an opportunity to be compassionate and not an opportunity to perpetuate the self, then it's a real learning experience. But, you know, we all know we don't just follow our addictions to, you know, limitlessly and then learn limitlessly. No, it's to practice that restraint and to be all the more mindful when you're not able to.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Viraj, did you want to share something?
Um, yeah, it was an answer to one of the previous questions. I think Morgan's. Yeah. What I usually do in the morning, I change my alarm sound, and that helped me just wake up in a different mindset. Maybe a sound that reminds you, even like bells, and waking up with that sound just starts the day, I guess, with mindfulness for me.
Okay, thank you, Viraj. So let's continue on. We'll read one more section here, maybe two, we'll see. So once mindfulness reaches a certain level, it will be bright and awake enough to do the job of focusing on a single object. And that's the real practice of meditation, is to focus on an object and to continue focusing on that object and to detach from everything else through the practice of focusing on that object, such as the breath or the body. So overcoming defilements. Apart from being alert, you need to know where to put your awareness. That is, to learn to watch the right thing at the right time. If watching the breath isn't working, ask yourself how you are watching the breath. Sometimes people watch the breath with control and willpower, with expectations and demands, but they don't see that there is a problem with how they are watching the breath. They are watching it in the wrong way. It is useful to have a framework for how to relate to the hindrances and defilements. In my experience, it's helpful to regard the hindrances and defilements as living in the space between the observer and the observed. The hindrances, so those barriers to us making progress on the path, the hindrances are not in the breath, and they are not in the consciousness, they are not in the awareness. They are just in between. Look at that space and find out how you're watching the breath. See if you are watching it with craving, desire, ill will, restlessness, dullness, or doubt. In the beginning of a meditation, that is more important than watching the breath itself. So a part of meditation practice is just this introspection, to look into the nature of our mind, who we are, how we approach reality, how we approach life. When I meditate, I know I have a problem if I see any sign of hindrances and defilements between me and my breath, such as desiring it to be the beautiful breath or wanting a nimitta, that beautiful light of a still mind. So Ajahn Brahm says here, when I meditate, I know I have a problem if I see any sign of hindrances and defilements between me and my breath, such as desiring it to be the beautiful breath, or especially desiring to have like this special meditation experience. That's a hindrance, that's a problem. Or wanting, this still mind, this bright mind, that's a hindrance, that's a boundary. If your basic meditation practice is desiring to have a still mind or a special bright mind or a beautiful experience, that's a problem. So mindfulness spots that desire and knows that it's going to cause a lot of problems. It's going to be contrary to the goal of peace and stillness. As soon as you see that, it's easy to stop. So our desire for a peaceful, special meditation experience will cause a lot of problems. And it's actually going to be contrary or go against the goal of peace and stillness. And as soon as you see that, it's easy to stop. It's easy to put that down. This idea about I'm going to have this bright, special meditation, you just got to put that down. If you're not happy with the breath, you'll want something that is more pleasurable, some sort of fantasy or a cup of coffee. If you're not content, of course, your mind is going to wander off somewhere else. So stop that ill will. Just say, I've got no ill will towards this breath, even though it's a bit unpleasant. It's okay. That is just its nature. So we can say here that in our normal, ordinary, everyday lives, sometimes we find ourselves in a moment, in a position of mindfulness, right? We're mindful, we're aware, but we're not happy with the breath, or we're not happy with the body, right? We're not happy with the experience we're having. And so we immediately default to this wanting something that's more pleasurable. Okay, we want a cup of coffee, or we want to go play a game, or we want to go watch something, or we flip on the phone, whatever it might be. So if we aren't content, if we aren't satisfied with what we have, the body and the breath at any given moment, the mind is going to wander off somewhere else. So in training mindfulness, just for a moment in your normal, ordinary, everyday life, practice to stop that ill will. Practice to stop, to let go of that aversion towards the breath, or that aversion towards just sitting here at this moment, or just standing there in that moment, at that moment of mindfulness, that moment of wakefulness. And you can say, just to take a break, you can say, I've got no ill will towards this breath, or towards this moment, the body as it is right now, even though it's a bit unpleasant. It's okay. That's just its nature. And then go have your cup of coffee, if it's in your normal, ordinary, everyday life. But when we're practicing meditation, leave it alone for a while. The breath, this feeling of not being satisfied with it, leave it alone for a while. At the beginning of meditation, all meditation objects will be a bit uncomfortable, a bit unsatisfying. That's their nature. When you realize that, you can allow them to be. So allowing unsatisfactory experiences to be. Yeah, it's okay to have an unsatisfactory experience and to be very aware of that, to be in the present, in the face of that. Sometimes, when you make a natural transition from one meditation object to the next, say, from the breath to the beautiful breath, or from the beautiful breath to the nimitta, this kind of brightness in the mind, it's not so attractive at first. You think, should I go back to just the ordinary breath? Sometimes the beautiful breath is nice and peaceful, but you might get this bright, big bright light, a nimitta, coming up to disturb you. The point is that whenever there's a transition, there's always a little bit of disturbance. You must be patient enough to allow it to settle down. Even if the meditation object has an unpleasant aspect to it, if you have enough mindfulness, you can bypass the discontent and ill will, and instead have kindness, gentleness, and letting go. In fact, those are the three things that I always try to put between me and the object. And when we practice this, especially in meditation, we're training, what are we training? Kindness, gentleness, and letting go. So when we start to practice meditation, when we pick up our meditation method, focusing on the breath, focusing on the body, maybe counting the breath, whatever it might be, you might find that there's some uncomfortableness, some unsatisfactoriness. But bypass, don't get involved with this ill will or this negativity towards that unsatisfactory feeling of the meditation, but instead bring up kindness, gentleness, and a sense of letting go of that ill will, that judgment for the unsatisfactory feeling when we start practicing. So we'll read one last section here. Practicing in this way, you focus on the space between the observer and the object. And you put those three things, letting go, kindness, and gentleness, in that space. You're not trying to get anything, and you don't have ill will. You're putting gentleness between you and the object, not force or aggression. If you put those three positive qualities in that space, the space between the meditation practitioner and the meditation method, if you put those three positive qualities of letting go, kindness, and gentleness in that space, and you're mindful to make sure they remain there, the breath becomes smooth and peaceful. Sometimes I call this practice being mindful of kamma, being mindful of karma. Because what you put between yourself and the object is the karma that you are making now. If you are watching the object, or if you are practicing the meditation method while trying to gain something or get rid of something, you're making disturbing karma that is going to have bad results in the future. But when you put the positive qualities of letting go, kindness, and gentleness between you and the meditation object, you generate the most pure and beautiful karma. It leads to wonderful consequences. This is why you should make peace with every moment and be kind and gentle with every moment, no matter what you are experiencing. Once you make good karma in this moment, the result is peace. The meditation becomes deep, and you have a wonderful time. The breath becomes peaceful and smooth, and the mind becomes beautiful. You achieve this because you are putting attention on how you are aware, not so much on what you are aware of. Another way of looking at this is to realize that mindfulness needs to be paired with wisdom. In the suttas, this is known as sati sampajana. This is the wisdom of knowing the instructions, knowing what to look for, and knowing where to look. It's amazing how combining mindfulness and wisdom increases your ability to develop deep and powerful meditation. Because you are mindful, you can see what you are doing. And the wisdom can then stop the negative karma and replace it with positive karma. So seeing what we are doing, we develop a wisdom. We develop an insight into doing this leads to positive results. Doing this leads to negative results. So the wisdom can then stop negative karma, stop unskillful behaviors, and replace them with positive behaviors, positive karma. When you start meditating, you might be tired or restless. But if you make peace with the moment and let go, if you're kind and gentle, you'll find it's easy to watch the breath. Gradually, the breath changes. Because you are making good karma, the breath becomes more attractive stable, and peaceful. And because the breath becomes more still, your mindfulness in turn becomes more energetic and therefore more powerful. Energetic and powerful mindfulness. How wonderful. Okay, so let's all take a moment to make sure that we're comfortable. And we'll practice just a few minutes of meditation before we wrap up today's session. Okay, so a few moments of being alone together, being with this beautiful breath, with our awareness of what's happening in the present. Just breathing and being aware. Allowing this Dharma rain to soak the field of our body and mind. Gentle, sweet, soft, comfortable. Aware. Okay, we can all bring our hands together. We'll say just a short affirmation, a short prayer of loving kindness for ourselves and all beings. So you can repeat after me. May I be safe, happy, and at peace. May those who are near to me be safe, happy, and at peace. May those in Ukraine and Russia be safe, happy, and at peace. May all beings encountering physical or mental sufferings be safe, happy, and at peace. May the benefits, merits, and goodness that we have cultivated, brought up, and practiced together here today be offered to all those in need, especially those in Ukraine and Russia who are going through so much suffering. May in some small way our practice bring peace and safety to the world. So we'll now make 3 sadhus together. So we can all do this chanting and send out the benefits of our practice, not to keep them for ourselves, but to send them out as we say sadhu together 3 times. Sadhu. 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 Okay, dear friends, thank you for joining. Take care, be happy, be peaceful. Just to announce, just to let everyone know that tomorrow our two sessions will be community sharing sessions at our normal time, so that we can kind of get introduced to one another, so we can get to know each other. And also, I just wanted to announce that on this coming Wednesday, we will have a guest speaker, another Buddhist monk that I know from America, who will be giving a talk on Vipassana at this time. Okay? And that'll be on Wednesday. All right? Take care, everyone. Thank you for being here.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, YouTubers, you all take care. And if you're not already in the Discord, please do consider to join. It's the best way to be involved with our community. And there should be a link in this video to join. Take care, YouTubers. Bye. Bye-bye.